Hi, I'm Scully Sinful, your big bro. Today I sat down and watched the Homestuck pilot, and it was, well, Alright, let me talk about Homestuck in general for a bit. I started going to conventions in 2014, and it was a really fun experience. My first ever con was actually Anime Expo, and if you know anything about American conventions, you know that was a pretty big way to start. As a longtime anime fan, it was really fun, and I really loved it. Something that stuck with me, though, was a certain group of cosplayers. There were these roaming packs of gray-skinned teenagers with candy corn horns stuck to their heads. They kinda were loud, and for some reason always were in character, as if the convention was just this giant big LARP event. When I returned home, I poked around in a few forums trying to figure out what kind of anime these dudes are from, only to find that they weren't from an anime at all, but rather a webcomic called Homestuck. Since then, I've heard about Homestuck on and off for years, but I never really cared enough to give it a shot. It's now 12 years later, and it got an 11-minute animated pilot, so I said, why not, let's give this thing a shot. This pilot should have been way more than 11 minutes long. To start off, I actually really dig the simple art style, and from what I've seen, that's pretty faithful to the original comic. The voice acting was also, frankly, amazing. The voice cast they got all seemed to fit the character designs exceptionally well. The first character we met was a little mummy guy watching some camera screens, and then we get our first named character,
Zeus Mel Poop Lord!
or John, if you are no fun. From there, we are introduced to a few other characters and some systems. So, the characters have some sort of extra-dimensional inventory systems, and it sounds like there's different ones for each of them. This is pretty cool. And John seems to have a really basic inventory where the first thing he puts in gets popped out once it's completely filled. Apart from that, there's also weapons, I think. One of the dudes had a katana. John has a hammer, and hammers are pretty cool. I don't care what the glasses guy said, hammers fucking rock. So, okay, let's just take a step back because I don't really want to recap everything that happened in the episode. That's for other tubers to do. I just really want to talk about my experience with the pilot. First off, this thing is moving a mile a minute, and as someone who knows nothing about Homestuck, it felt a little overwhelming. I felt there was barely any time whatsoever to process new information before it was just completely done. There was also quite a lot of new things just flying into our faces, new terms, new ways the world is managed. And in this pilot alone, we met 4 characters, got a vague understanding of their basic character traits, and were introduced to 4 different plot lines. There's this game beta they're all into, a meteor, which doesn't look great. I don't know why that wasn't more of a big deal, because that looked like a very dangerous meteor, but John kind of looked up at it and shrugged it off like it was no big deal, so it might not actually be that important. And then there was the mummy guy who was watching all of the cameras, and of course it's John's birthday to top it all off. And he has some presents and a few other things that I want to see opened up, because I want to know what's going on. I do like how they did conversations. It was cool seeing the characters break and mold to almost comic book-like animation. And speaking of animation, it's really fluid. Everything looks great. The fight scene between John and his dad was just awesome to watch. It was really cool, really slick. And honestly, if that's how the rest of the fight scenes are going to be in this series, dude, I'm in it. That was really sick. All in all, it was a pretty fun introduction to Homestuck, and I would definitely watch a few more episodes. I think it was funny, intriguing, and the fight scenes, they're just good, man. However, like I said, this thing could have been just a little bit longer. At the end of the day, I felt intrigued and confused. I have no idea what the hell is happening, but I definitely want to find out. I don't really rate things out of 10. If I like something, I'll just say to give it a shot. And I definitely thought this was a lot of fun. So give it a watch if you were curious. After all, it's only 11 minutes long. That's about a fifth of an hour. No, or a sixth? I don't know. I'm not good at math. But yeah, I'm kind of curious about the webcomic now. Should I give it a read? should I stream my read through of Homestuck and provide my blind reaction? That could be pretty fun. Let me know in the comments below. Are you also new to Homestuck like me? If you are, please tell me what your thoughts on the pilot were too. I'd love to hear more perspectives from people who are coming into this thing just as blind as I am. So I've been Scully Sinful, your big bro, and I'll see you guys real soon. Goodbye!